Talk about chin music. Hello, everybody. David Shuster here. Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts has a long history of pummeling Trump-supporting news anchors, and Warren just did it again. She lashed out at Sarah Eisen on CNBC, who tried to defend Trump and defend the Fed eliminating bank regulations.
The question is, do you worry at all about the unintended consequences then of, it putting even more regulatory pressure on these banks, which are critical for our financial system, providing liquidity, providing loans? Do you want to see that in the hands of crypto firms or others that are less regulated?
I'm sorry, you're throwing a giant parade and tossing confetti over regulation that, let's see, what's happened in the last 9 months? Wells Fargo has been tagged for money laundering. It's been tagged for being engaged in consumer fraud, and it's been tagged for cheating its investors. Man, I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound like to me really tough oversight.
The confrontation centered over this news. As the headline said in the New York Times, Fed removes shackle imposed on Wells Fargo after a series of scandals. For 7 years, the bank was forbidden to grow as punishment for misconduct, including creating fraudulent bank accounts and mistakenly seizing homes.
And they set up their whole business operation around cheating their own customers and cheating their investors, and they got caught.
CNBC host Eisen asked Warren why she is not grateful for the 7 years of Wells Fargo punishment.
Why not just take the win? I mean, this was a harsh punishment.
They've caught Wells Fargo breaking the law over and over and over. And now everybody wants to celebrate that that's all behind us, and it'll be just fine to turn down the regulations on Wells Fargo. I just got to say, that makes no sense.
Warren pointed out, as Eisen and any other news anchor could have Googled, that over the past 6 months, regulators have caught Wells Fargo Bank repeatedly breaking the law again. In January of 2025, the Securities and Exchange Commission tagged Wells Fargo for scamming their own investors. The month before, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau tagged the bank for an $800 million scam involving Zelle customers. Last September, the Office of the Comptroller tagged Wells Fargo for money laundering. And more recently, there was this.
Just weeks ago, former and current Wells Fargo employees actually put out a report that said Wells is engaging in the same behavior that they were engaging in 7 years ago that started this whole cascade of law breaking, and that Wells Fargo hasn't really changed. I'd like to see Wells go just 1 year without a serious violation of the law before the Fed says, okay, we're good now.
And some of us would like to see Sarah Eisen go even a few days on CNBC without shilling for corporate oligarchs. Eisen also has a habit of reflexively embracing all things Donald Trump. A few weeks ago, Eisen defended Trump taking away Harvard University research grants, but Eisen got shredded. And once again, it was thanks to Elizabeth Warren.
You know what? Instead of just mouthing off about what you think is happening, actually present some evidence. And let's look at the evidence. Let's let the other side come in and question that evidence. But you don't just get to lip off and say, and therefore the king gets to wave his magic wand and say, off with your head.
Doesn't the government determine where federal tax dollars go?
Well,
and so they're allowed
to
decide.
Law, do you think they have a big bushel basket of money and they just say, you, good looking, you will have money. You, not so good looking, you're going to have to go hungry for a while. That's not how it works. Let's just do Con Law 101, and that is Congress writes those laws and allocates that money. The administration's job is to enforce those laws and spend that money the way the law tells them. And if they fail to do that, Part 3 is the courts are the ones who step in and enforce the law.
Earlier, in that same interview, Eisen belittled Warren's effort to assert congressional authority over tariffs. Eisen claimed, wrongly, that Congress doesn't have that power, prompting Warren to rip her apart.
It ultimately doesn't matter.
What do you mean it ultimately doesn't matter? This is the law. I'm
because
still kind of Constitution 101.
No, but he has the authority, ultimately.
Well, no, he does not. That's the whole point. He does not have the authority if Congress does not let him keep this authority. We can take this away.
And to try and take it away, Warren has been seeking a Senate vote. The Massachusetts Democrat is the ranking minority member of the Senate Banking Committee and has called Donald Trump's tariffs corrupt. Now, in the wake of the decision to give a pass to Wells Fargo, Warren is training her fire on banking regulators. She's demanding the Fed and Wells Fargo turn over 5 years' worth of bank examination documents.
Remember, the oversight job in Congress is both for these giant financial institutions, but it's also oversight over our regulatory agencies, including the Fed, to make sure that the Fed is doing its job. So that's what I'm calling for right now.
I think it's hard to release it to the Congress
so that we can read it.
Send the materials to the Banking Committee so Warren and others can read it. That is not an extreme position. It is reasonable, logical, and fair. But those attributes are often confusing for some members of the corporate media who promote and defend every capitalist, even the financial miscreants. Now, it may be too much to hope that Sarah Eisen and others eventually turn over a new leaf, do some homework, and go beyond their Trump talking points. Still, as long as CNBC and others keep inviting on Elizabeth Warren, at least there will be some pushback. Warren knows these financial, banking, and regulatory issues better than any lawmaker in Congress. She speaks clearly and convincingly. And the Massachusetts Democrat is not afraid to publicly hammer and correct anybody who keeps getting this stuff wrong. By the way, Donald Trump's ICE agents recently got chased out of a San Diego neighborhood. This was the scene recently in San Diego, California. Those are flashbangs fired by ICE agents to try and clear people blocking that ICE vehicle. Here's another view from inside one of the Italian restaurants ICE had just raided. The Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents wearing combat gear and pointing weapons arrested more than a dozen restaurant staff. A Warren says ICE got a tip that the restaurant employed undocumented workers.
Shame! Back up! Yeah, back up! Back up!
City leaders say the raids were unconstitutional with no due process for the people hauled away. Check out that video at the link below. It generated a lot of comments on YouTube. One of the most popular from Forrest Zander, who wrote of ICE agents, "They are public servants. Their names and faces should be public knowledge." Well said. I look forward to reading your comments about Senator Elizabeth Warren blasting a right-wing financial host on live television. I'm David Shuster. Thanks for joining us.